Hey, it's Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD, and it's always been my goal to help you create a great life by achieving a strong mind, a healthy body, and an unshakable spirit. In order to do that, we have to have self honesty. We have to be fully transparent with our thoughts, with our beliefs, with our life. And the truth is important. We have to be comfortable with hearing the truth. And I have to tell you, going over this review article today, which is put out by the CDC, which is the organization which sets the health policy for the United States. And I have to say, I've been blown away and kind of upset about what I've read because it's totally different from what we've been hearing everywhere. And in order to really face the facts of this brutal pandemic, we have to be able to face the truth and we have to be comfortable with that truth. And this is not a political piece at all. My review is non-political, completely unbiased, and is only to bring you factual information so you can act on it. And hopefully the people in power and take the necessary steps to set health policy, because the CDC and the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, which I'm going to review right now, is supposed to do just that. But we're being given information that is not accurate. This is the provisional mortality data of the United States in 2020, the year of COVID-19, right? This was just released on March 31st, 2021. This is hot off the press, folks, right? And what does it say? What's the summary? What do we take from this? Read right here, the summary. The COVID-19 pandemic caused approximately 375,000 deaths in the United States during 2020. That is unambiguous. Here's the statement from the CDC, 375,000 deaths from COVID-19. But what did you hear? I heard, I think 545,000 deaths. In fact, I was watching opening day today, and they had a tribute to those people who lost their lives from COVID-19. And they said 545,000 people died from COVID-19. That is not accurate. We are being told inaccurate information. Why is that so important? Does it mean that this is not a deadly disease? Does it mean that it's not serious? Does it mean that people who get COVID don't get sick and might be sick even afterwards with what we're seeing as kind of a long hauler effect? No, it doesn't mean that at all. What it means is that we're not being given the truth. We're being given information that is spun in a certain way to promote certain possibly ideologies. Totally wrong. Let's hear the facts. Let's set the policy grounded in accuracy. So let's go on. The added in this report, the age-adjusted death rate increased by 15.9% in 2020. That means that in 2020, yes, there were more deaths than the most recent years, 2019, and over the last 5 years. Those deaths increased by about 500,000, okay? A little bit more than 500,000, let's say 550,000. So what took the place? What filled in the gap? We're being told all of those were COVID-19 deaths, which are not true. It's not true. The CDC, this is the group, the organization, again, that we turn to for supposedly accurate information. If 375,000 people died from COVID-19, but the total mortality in 2020 was up about 550,000, then what is the difference? What made up the difference? Was it the people losing their jobs and the lockdowns causing depression, causing more suicides, more opioid overdoses, more alcoholism and the sequelae, meaning the aftermath of that disease, that addiction? What made up that difference? Be very interesting to know. So let's look here, and where it says the overall death rates were highest among non-Hispanic Black persons, okay, meaning Caucasian, and non-Hispanic American Indian or Alaska Native persons. COVID-19 was the third leading cause of death, and the COVID-19 death rate was highest among Hispanics. So the overall numbers were higher in non-Hispanics, but the rate was higher among Hispanics. That group was disproportionately affected. Provisional death estimates provide an early indication of shifts in mortality trends. That is precisely what we're supposed to be looking at, the shifts in trends, so that could help us to prevent and to set health policy. So we know early on from the tens of thousands who died in Wuhan, China, we know coming into the United States and the experience in the United States and other countries showed that persons who had multiple medical conditions, who were over the age of 65, who were obese, who had, again, premorbid or multifactorial problems, many pre-existing conditions, those people were more susceptible. Those people were more likely to die. So if we're going to set policy, truly policy, looking at the science, is it smarter? Is it better science to segregate, if you will, those individuals? I'm not saying discriminate. I'm talking from a scientific point of view, from a public health perspective, to segregate those individuals, quarantine those individuals, prevent people from coming into contact with those individuals who are most susceptible, instead of drawing a wide net and putting in lockdown everyone, when in fact it is a small subset of people who are most affected from of contracting a severe or critical form of COVID-19. In fact, according to the AARP from March 11, 2021, of those 375,000 deaths, 174,000 were in patients in nursing homes, residents in nursing homes, or the staff in those nursing homes. So we know from early on that the nursing home population was the most vulnerable. So there were, and again, I'm not blaming any politicians or governors in states who made policy based on a disease that was really not very well understood, and they made decisions to move hospitalized patients with COVID to convalesce in nursing homes, which was a very bad public health policy, in retrospect, a lethal health policy, but it put those people at great risk and increased those numbers. So the numbers for 375,000, it's a horrible, horrific number. Don't get me wrong, it's terrible. But to keep saying that COVID deaths are 554,000 is just disingenuous, and it's not real. And we need, if we're going to set policy and we're going to be clear on what steps to take in the future, we need to be honest with everyone. And here I'm talking about the American people. So let's look some others. This is some information. I'm not going to go over into details, but the specifics of how they calculated those deaths. And you could see here that in 2020, approximately 3.4 million deaths occurred in the United States. I'm rounding it a bit. So they're talking about here that COVID-19 was reported as the underlying cause of death or contributing cause of death for an estimated 377 or 378,000 of those deaths. Okay, so not 554 as we're being told, but 378,000 deaths, right? And we're going again. They're just discussing here how they go about calculating that. Again, the numbers, 3.4 million deaths in the United States. Comparing to other years, it's about 550 to 600,000 more than previous years, and 375,000 or so of those deaths are from COVID-19. So the difference is we don't know. We know that it was the third leading cause of death in 2020, COVID-19, where heart disease and cancer were still the leading causes of death. But it's also important to understand that when you look at this during 2020, COVID-19 was listed as the underlying or contributing cause of death, again, in about 378,000. The highest among those aged greater than 85, similar rate of overall deaths, the age-adjusted COVID-19 associated death rate among males, 115, was higher than among females. Age-adjusted death rates differed by race and ethnicity. Going over the overall age-adjusted death rates were lowest among Asian Americans, Hispanic persons, Hispanic Americans, and highest among Black Americans. Here it's showing that although the rate may have been highest among Hispanic, it appears that the total numbers among Blacks were the highest, Black Americans, when compared to other racial ethnic groups. The COVID-19 associated death rates were lowest among multiracial and Asian persons and highest among Native Americans or Alaskan natives. And the Hispanic person, again, they're going over the facts that we just talked about, and the third leading cause of death after heart disease and cancer was COVID-19. So what we have here, in my opinion, is the evidence. Here are the facts. We need to, if we're going to make any determination of how we're going to go forward in living our lives, we need to be given the correct facts, not sprinkled with political ideology or rhetoric. We need to be told the real skinny, if you will, of what's going on. Now, you know, it's my opinion, and some of you may not agree with this and may feel that the government needs to tell us that we have to wear masks and get vaccinated. I don't feel it's the government's responsibility to do that. Here, as a public health policy, if we look at it, if we look at those people who are most vulnerable, I feel that leave it up to private enterprise. If you don't want to go into a business that requires you to wear a mask, don't go into that business. I personally don't care. I'll wear a mask. It doesn't bother me. I work out. I do a very vigorous workout called CrossFit wearing a mask, and I can do that. Doesn't bother me. I don't feel as though my civil liberties are being taken advantage of. I'm thinking that since we haven't been told, or those people who are most vulnerable haven't been segregated, if you will, I don't know if I'm going to come into contact with one of those people eventually, and that's why I need to do that. But that's the private enterprise and if you don't like it, don't go shop somewhere else where somebody doesn't require you to wear a mask. Vaccines. Again, some of you don't believe in vaccines. I personally resent the fact that they're important, but I feel they're important. I got the Pfizer vaccine last week. I'm going to get my second vaccine 3 weeks from now. I think it's important. I think the government should mandate it? No. But I think that if an airline, a private business, says that you need to have show vaccination to get in, well, that's their business and that's their requirements. If you don't like it, you don't want to get vaccinated, then don't do it. But don't fault the private enterprise for making you get vaccinated. I feel that the more people who are vaccinated, the faster we'll get out of this mentality of fear that we've been, unfortunately, that's been created because of misinformation like this. This is not misinformation. What I just gave you is factual information, but the misinformation comes from the talking heads and the pundits who have to spin it in a political way and make us very fearful. But unfortunately, that has taken all of us over. And I think in order to keep those most vulnerable safe, we need to reach a herd immunity. And the quicker we do that with vaccination, the quicker we will stop any of these numbers from rising, and we'll get out of this cycle of misinformation. And I'm hoping finally people will wake up and look at the truth and not try to use it for their advantage, to take advantage of other people, but to make us so we can be honest with ourselves, and we can go on with our lives, and we can live safe lives. Because I'm talking about mortality and death. Well, COVID-19 is a dangerous disease. It's the disease of the coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. Even those people who have survived may still be sick for months afterwards. And that's a reality too. And we don't want that, whether or not people die from it or not, which is horrible, but those people who got sick and who have lingering effects, we don't want that to happen. We want to nip that in the bud. We want to stop it. That's why I think that vaccines are important, but that's not what I'm reviewing today. Okay. And if you don't feel that vaccines are important, that's your prerogative, in my opinion. I don't feel the government should mandate you to take a vaccine. I don't think they should mandate you to wear a mask. I think you need to do what you feel is right for you. I think it's right to do those things. That's my opinion. I think if we're given proper information, we'll be less suspicious of the authorities, and the less suspicious we are, then the more likely we are to do what we feel is right for ourselves and our family. So this review article, reviewing the CDC, this is what we have now. Very disappointing that we're being misled by major media outlets that are swaying health policy much more than the actual facts are. So take this and spread it, share it. If you like these reviews, subscribe to CoachMD official on YouTube, and let me hear what you think. Comment. I'd love to hear your opinion on this, whether you agree with me or not. I'd love to hear it anyway. So until next time, remember, truth is important, and the more truthful we are with ourselves, the more likely we are to be able to live a vibrant and healthy life. So I'm Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD, wishing you to stay strong in mind, in body, and in soul. Bye for now. Dr. Charles, CoachMD, thanks for stopping by. Make sure to like and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you think you have a friend who might benefit from this video, share it with them. For access to exclusive content, support my Patreon. There you'll get private access to videos, meditations, health tips, even relationship and financial tips. You'll have a say in what I produce and be able to participate in a monthly call with me. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you soon.